Hello everyone, DonTheCrown here, and today I want to show you a little bit of a more endgame crafting method that you might not necessarily know about, and that you probably want to if you're looking to work with gear that is very, very high end. Talking like multiple divines. So for example here, my staff here, when I got this, all of the suffixes on this were absolute trash, and I managed to roll leech and critical strike chance onto it without risking the prefixes for this at all. And there is some technology that will allow us to just basically make our gear better. And so I'm going to do this now with this hat here. I just bought this hat pretty recently, and I like the amount of evasion on it. I like the life, I like the intelligence, I like the lightning res, but I'm not really a big fan of the attribute requirements. Now, this is kind of using some expensive currency. Let's talk about this. So we go here to the currency exchange and we go to want. We go down to omens and we can see there's a lot of stuff here. And at first glance, this is a little bit overwhelming. But most of these here are things that are like combat activated. And then starting at the exaltation ones here, this is crafting stuff. So while this item is in your inventory, your next exalted orb will only add prefixes. And then there is suffixes. Now, these are not particularly all that great. They're worth about 3 exalts a pop right now for that one, whereas this one's 2 exalts. And really, like, if you're going to be slamming exalts, you're probably just slamming the whole thing. So not really particularly great. But these next few ones are absolutely insane. So while this item is active in your inventory, your next orb of annulment will remove 2 modifiers. So you can basically double up the annulment, which at first doesn't really seem all that good. However, we do also have Omen of Sinistral annulment, which makes it so that the orb of annulment will only remove prefixes, or it will only remove suffixes. Now, I haven't tested this yet, but I'm pretty darn sure that if you have both of them active together, it would allow you to nuke 2 prefixes and 2 suffixes at the same time, which is rather useful. The reason I haven't tested it is, well, if we look at the price for this, it's about 11 divines to remove a prefix, and it is about 16 divines to remove a suffix. And so these are rather expensive to test with, but you know, supposedly it does work together if you're going to do that. Now, the one that I want to talk about here today, and there is very similar to have like Omen of Greater Exaltation, where you add 2 exalted orbs. This is basically not really worth all that much. Like, paying 2 exalts so that you can double exalt doesn't really make much sense to me. And then the other one here, where it's Chaos Orb, will remove only suffix modifiers. This one is also pretty good. It's about 19 divines, which is pretty insane. And then we have this one here, which will knock off only prefixes. And all of these are pretty great, but pretty random at the same time. What's not going to be random here is the Omen of Whittling. And what this does is makes it so that while this item is active in your inventory, the next Chaos Orb will remove the lowest level modifier. Now, what you might think this does at first is probably a little bit different than what it actually does. So what this does is it'll remove the item that has the lowest level requirement. And in order to figure out, or the modifier that has the lowest level requirement, and so in order to figure this out, we have to kind of use the DB here to figure it out. And for like weapons, for example, this is really easy to find because we have a lot of the information here for the crafting stuff. Whereas if we're looking at things like helmets, I don't believe that we actually have this yet in terms of like what all the tiers are and stuff. I'm not really sure why we don't. That would be very useful information to have. And let me double check here for accessories. We do have that information as well. So this is a little bit safer to use on accessories and weapons, because what I can do is be like, I can look here at the life and I can see that, hey, this is a level requirement of 44. So that is the lowest level 1, for example. So I want to use this on my hat, which we don't have the information for. So what I went and did is I went to the website here and I looked up helmets. And then I just went modifier by modifier on this. So I looked like for flat evasion, for example, here, that has 143. So evasion rating, I could go like 143. And you can even go like magic here, for example. I can see there's 72 results, and I just sort by the required level. And I can see that at least level 47 for this. It could potentially be higher. But after going through all of the rare gear, I could not find one that was lower than 47. So I marked all of these out. That's kind of how I went through and did it. And the only one that was difficult to really find was this one here, the hybrid life and evasion rating, which was level 62. But I can see here that reduced attribute requirements appears to be level 25. So if I activate this Orb of Whittling here, or Omen of Whittling, while this item is active in your inventory, the next Chaos Orb remove the lowest level modifier. Assuming I'm right, and I did do this on my staff, that is going to make it so that the attribute requirements are going to pop off here. And I would really, really, really love to see some like high tier chaos res, or really anything good would be really, really great here. So next Chaos Orb here, it is active. I can tell from the red border. And there we go. We got Dexterity, which, while not really good, is kind of interesting because now our stats are even better. And yeah, there you go. So this is a very expensive, high-end way of crafting, but as you can see, it can be relatively safe. And in fact, now I know exactly what this next modifier is. So plus 33 to Dex is also probably going to be similar to this intelligence at level 59. And so if I took a swing at this with whittling again, it's probably going to take this off here and then followed by the lightning resist. So for the most part, this hat is now done because the lowest hanging fruit has all been culled away and there's nothing else that I would really want to go and get. Now for some other stuff here, so like for example, on my body armor here, I can potentially do this again and probably swing and get that cold res either up or off. I could do things like that, for example, but like this body armor is probably not necessarily worth doing that on right now. But this kind of just gives you a good idea of kind of some of the more deterministic crafting stuff that's available in endgame. And I would really love if these omens were a lot cheaper. Now you might be wondering, how do you farm these things? These come out of ritual stuff. And so if you are farming this node here, for example, has a ritual on it, the little ritual symbol right here. And it has a very, very, very rare chance of having omens. But if you go through and you do the Audience with a King, which is a very expensive map, you can increase the odds of having a favor that has an omen by 50%. So probably taking it from being like 1% to 1.5. Very, very difficult to probably get these. But then you also can increase the odds of getting that Audience with the King. And then Audience with the King is rather expensive here, with this currently coming in about 5.75 divines. So yeah, that's whittling. That's a little bit of omen crafting for you. Let me know if you guys have any additional experience or thoughts on the omen crafting. And yeah, good luck out there.